It was a beautiful Friday. I have probably taken a 30-minute PO3 trade 3 times this week. It has been every winning trade that we've taken. So, what I want to talk about is first YM because YM was giving us the big Kraken correlations for today. So, this was our 90-minute cycle between these two highs. Our daily cycle was sweeping all-time high. And then we also had a hidden, if we just show what we can don't need to talk about the hidden too much, but on the 1 minute right here, the body is on A lower than the body on ES by ever so slightly. Like right here is where the body is for the highest high on A. So the body's like creating a closure under that was another tip of the hand to short, but I mean it wasn't significant. Really, the significance was having a true microcycle open, CISD, and the breaker block to have a stop. And actually, this is where our body for the 30 minutes. Let's just go to replay so you can see this. Let's continue. So I actually go back a little bit more. So this is where the body of the PO3 was, and that's where I wanted my stop. I always want the stop in the wick or like right above the body for a safe stop. So I was confident. I entered 7 contracts here, and I ended up exiting right here for 100 points. You see right there, that's 100 points. And then my final exit was right there as a time-based exit because when 10 a.m. opened, I really did not want to be in the trade because I don't want to be in the wick that gets created to trade back up into the 15-minute gaps here and then move lower. I just didn't want to do it for that amount of time because 30-minute PO3 has an objective and it's in the 30 minutes that we're trading the PO3. The 4 hour has an objective, but it's over 4 hours of time. So, I just didn't want to hold the trade. I still got to go to work. So, this was a time based exit, as I noted right here. Time based exit is really when you can get really precise and take the most out of the market. Or if you want to hold runners, I mean, it'll still go lower, but you just would hold it longer. And so, if you don't have an entry in the higher portion of the leg for open, the 30-minute PO3, then holding continuations is just not in your favor because you might get stopped out. You might want to take some profit and you might want stops in profit and you might get stopped out for that. So that's just how I see it. You can see I put two 15-minute SMTFs that I'm going to show you. We had on ES, very slight right here. And this was really the stall to send us lower in the 1030 candle. But right there, you can see this deviation right there. And then the SMTF, we tapped into the gap, but we also have a higher 15-minute gap on NQ, MNQ. So that was another double SMTF on the 15-minute to send us lower. But I just wasn't going to be trading the 4 hour because it looked so clean on the 30-minute PO3. And just noting this, where's 10A, 1030? Right there, this 1030 candle body. So selling above that would be, where your short entry is. Ideally waiting for that and then waiting for this crap. If it was just a you probably got stopped down this. Like, honestly, you would have had to have a higher stop or wait for a new 15-minute and wait for each 15-minute to get in on the wick that will send us lower because this was probably the only short that you would have gotten after this 15-minute SMTF. Like there, or get in on the change of state or the tap and then above the body of that candle, and then there you'd have some decent RR, 3 and 4R. But this is the trade we took for 5R, and so because I exited here, it ended up to be about a average 5R with 5 contracts, even though I was in 7. But that's all right because my copy trader, like literally, I'm glad I caught it because I ended up shorting like about right here, but my copy trader did not copy my accounts, and so I was in on one account with my up size because I was confident, and so I had to deal with that. But that's all right. So actually, I do need these on because I need to take a screenshot. But let's get into our higher time frame and how this set up. First, let's start with the cycles. XAMD. From overnight, I knew that we were going to dump lower from Friday because our weekly candle was turning bearish. And this is important to note the weekly candles and even the monthly candles and where their bodies are turning because those are giving you the high time frame market maker model reversal points. So you can see right here, there is a slight deviation between the body. I didn't take that into consideration. Mostly the body closing inside of previous week's body. That was where I was convinced that we were going to short. And after we hit previous day low, no, not today, but like yesterday I knew that we were selling off from more, actually from open. I knew that this was going to be our premium buy side to send us lower because we need to sweep something to send us significantly lower. So right here is when I knew we were moving lower, and that's off a 1 hour market structure shift. 4 hour, no, it wasn't 4 hour, was it I think it was just yeah, it was just like the 1 hour. I was intuitively, I just knew that we were going to move because we are trading into these lows, and it just, this market maker model on, if you just look on the 4 hour, probably, no, the 1 hour. This market maker model just like looked so obvious to me. Weekly cycle from previous week, relative lows right here, candle, and wow, we're really dumping. Holy crap. So market maker model look kind of obvious. New weekly opening gap for this week is right here. After that gets inversed, I'm expecting like some heavy selling after that. And that 4 hour, you should talk about gap alignment first. So 4 hour, 15 minute, 5 minute, and 1 minute was what I was looking at. So for the 4 hour, we had this 4 hour BPR on ES, 4 hour slight BPR, which it didn't even trade into. Like, look at the 4 hour candle. This is from 6, and because we had news, we had NFP at 8:30. That news pushes us in the direction the market wants to go. So more tip of the hand to short, but trading into the 4 hour BPR and then closing the bodies like barely, like basically at where the fair value gap low is formed was my confirmation for the 4 hour that we're sending lower. On the 15 minute, really the 1 hour didn't show much for gap alignment, so I went to the 15 minute, and that's because we were in a range, so the 1 hour didn't help all that much. 15 minute, we had this gap right here at previous day low. I was looking for this to send lower, and we had a news high, and I thought that if this could get tapped by a wick, but then the body would close in the candle, then I would love to see that as well. But the body closed so much lower than I expected, so that was also even better. And so after that 15 minute, looked at the 5 minute, there's a gap here. You could have used this gap, but I wanted just a larger range because I wanted to see where the wicks would trade into in that 5 minute gap. We inversed on ES. Really, I didn't care about that because on NQ we didn't. And then coming into market open with this bearish 5 minute, we have time frame alignment, we have gap alignment, so it doesn't need to trade up into here. I'm looking for manipulation of the 30-minute po3 and then distribution. So coming in accumulation, I knew manipulation was going to be quick at open. We had inverse the first presented. True microcycle open is right here. Put on TMSO. We inverse this using the TMSO as a CISD for our po3. Our breaker block here was our safe stop. I entered, we had no 1 minute, entry, no 30-second entry, so I strictly entered just off of price action and tried to, get close as I can to the breaker on the 15-second, but literally at the moment I had the bottom of the market, and it was terrible because like that's half my stop loss in that next 15-second candle, which I didn't mind. I kind of, was a little antsy about it because I was up 7 contracts, which is 2 more than my size. So it kind of, I was feeling the tug of war, but I held strong and, I took off a little bit. And the reason why I took this off was because, right here, was because at that time, ES took our recent low and was like kind of reversing. So by that time, I was like, okay, I'll pay myself a bit. It's 100 points. And we still have 4 contracts on, which is like basically almost my usual size. So I held those for 200 points, a little more. And same time-based exit when we literally, I didn't even know if we took, yeah, I think we took it. But still, it kind of looks like we edged it. Right there is where I wanted to exit, and I did a little bit earlier because who cares? It's like 15 points. So that was the confirmation to short. So after those gap alignments, that was really telling me how price action was moving. And the cycle alignment, XAMD accumulation, expansion, accumulation, manipulation with our DC, our 90-minute, with YM, right? We had that with all-time high. With the 2 weekly cycles we already had, right? One's in play from 2 days ago, and then one from today, sweeping all-time high again, which was like between here and here. Another weekly cycle right here. I don't need to add weekly cycle, you know what it is. Then I know that we have enough Kraken correlations, high time frame, to send us lower. So that hidden that I mentioned, what really wasn't of much significance to me. It was more using gap alignment to find the entry and find a safe stop, not using a Kraken correlation to put like a stop at the high because there wasn't one except for that hidden that I mentioned. So off of that, that is why I took my entry. I did not take it on this 2 minute inversion because I needed the breaker to form. Off this 2 minute, we still could have wicked and created a body that would move us higher. So until this low got taken, we did not have a breaker. And so I entered like literally the candle after we took that, well, 2 minutes after we took that low and created a breaker. And I knew that it was a safe stop because that's where our minor 2 minute is, but it's most importantly where above the breaker block is. And if the breaker is small, that just gives you an even more refined entry. So right here, crank correlations, 2 weeklies, a daily, a 90 minute, a hidden micro, and then we use the breaker block, true microcycle open, 4 hour, 15, 5 minute gap alignment, and we just held to our target, which was the low relative lows. Both of them got took now, so you would be fully out of the trade unless you're holding for longer than that, which I honestly, you could, we'll see, because who knows what price action is doing right now on a Friday. But all targets hit, market maker model that I literally like called from right here. Not on the YouTube, but personally, I knew that this would happen. I also mentioned it in the Discord that I am a part of, but this was perfect, and I didn't really know how much we're gonna dump on a Friday, but it was setting up from last night, which I thought this was gonna be part of Friday's move, so it just looked really great. That's like almost the entire week's move, 70% of it since last night, and that's a TGIF Friday for you. Well, not even because it didn't even retrace. It just completely reversed the week. So anyway, I'll leave it at that. It was a great, great trading day, and I'm just gonna enjoy the rest of the day. I still have to work, but that's of little consequence when you know how to trade the golden RR model. And some people do say that you either have a high win rate or a high RR. I disagree because you can have both with a great model, with confidence, and with most importantly, market experience. And so my model is time based for exits and entries. It's also price based for entries and exits. So I have a lot of wiggle room for the type of entries I take for the stop losses, but they all basically look the same. And so that's why I'm able to participate in different looking moves, but relatively just the same model, the same time-based manipulation, distribution, being in at the high low. That's really what we preach. So I also have the playlist on my YouTube channel. Check it out to learn the 4 hour, the 90 minute, and the 30 minute PO3 and how I trade them. And I'll leave it at that, and I'll see you guys in the next trading week. Take care.